Hey guys, how's it going out there? Welcome to Scorpio season. I hope you're all up for it because we have some amazingly transformative healing energy available to us this week that we can all utilize, leverage, catalyze to support our collective journeys in spiritual awakening, healing, and empowerment. I'm going to explain what all that means in this episode, and I'm going to share some channeled insights, sacred wisdom teachings as usual. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So the sun went into Scorpio a few days ago on October 23rd, and we are officially in the midst of Scorpio season. The energy of Scorpio inspires all of us to crave an added depth of experience in life. This time of year, while we're in Scorpio season, we're all intrigued by anything that is secret, hidden, taboo, or suppressed. And what do you think that means, especially considering that we are also coming into the last quarter moon phase? That means that this week is a really potent time for doing deep healing, clearing, you might even want to say shadow work. Now, last week, I promised that I was going to talk a little bit more about why the veil is the thinnest around Halloween. So we also have Halloween happening this weekend. We've got Halloween night followed by All Saints Day on November 1st. And so why is Halloween considered to be a time where the veil between the physical world of form and the world of spirit is the thinnest? This is what I learned from one of my teachers long ago. He's passed on now. Some of you might be familiar with his work. His name's Ted Andrews. He's written many metaphysical books, and he's originally from Ohio like me. So I actually had the honor of studying with him for many years before he passed on. And so he taught me this about not only Halloween, but some other in-between times. So Halloween basically marks the halfway point roughly between fall and winter. And as I've been talking about over the past few weeks, we are coming into the darkest part of the year, which means that the dark hours of the day are increasing and the light hours of the day are decreasing. When there's a little bit more of an equality between daylight and night, that brings us into like an in-between type of time. It's called the tween times. Dusk and dawn are other tween times that we experience every day. And spiritually speaking, during these times of day or these times of year, because we are literally in between day and night, these times mark times where we in the physical are more able to access the world of spirit, and beings that are in spirit are more easily able to access us here in the world of form. That's why there's many traditions throughout many cultures that celebrate the life of their ancestors during Halloween time. This is a really good weekend for all of us to, just kind of have that in mind. We've got like circles within circles of opportunities happening with us or for us this weekend. It's a time where we can connect with our ancestors in celebration and honor of their life, in celebration and honor of how their lives led to our existence now. It's definitely a really good time to do any ancestral healing type of work, being that we are in the midst of Scorpio season, which really is very connected to working with that which is influencing us on deep unconscious levels, which is why I'm suggesting shadow work. I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but just to reiterate here, our shadow side is comprised of aspects of ourself that we consciously or unconsciously reject, deny, and disown. However, much of those aspects of ourself that we reject, deny, disown are not necessarily undesirable or negative aspects of ourself. it's quite possible, and it actually happens a lot, that pieces of ourselves that are connected to our largest soul gifts that we were born into the world to contribute to humanity can hide out in. If you want to learn more about shadow work, I'll link some of my other videos up here about shamanic shadow work, and this would be a good weekend to explore this dimension, because the energy, especially this week with the last quarter moon phase that we're in, and Scorpio season, and some of the astrological aspects that I'm going to talk about in a moment, are all just all around conducive to doing deep clearing and healing work, which will set the space for sort of rebounding into renewed enthusiasm around the corner. So some of the astrological aspects that we have going on this week that are really influencing us, we had Venus in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces, which happened a few days ago, but that energy is still impacting us. And what this does is it has a tendency to bring about wounds that are connected to our perception of deceit and betrayal. Notice I said our perception of deceit and betrayal. Neptune is very connected to illusionary energies. And so some of the wounds that we have had in our lives, or some of the traumas that we have had around deception and betrayal, that may be coming up with this square to Venus that we just had, may be based on what our point of view or our perception was at the time, rather than the literal account of what happened factually. So this weekend, we have opportunities for exploring and ultimately healing and integrating old wounds that are connected to that type of energy dynamic. Okay, so here's a big one. Mars enters Scorpio the day before Halloween on October 30th. We know that Mars is connected to the archetype of the spiritual warrior, and Scorpio is connected to energies of depth, of feeling, intimacy, unconscious processes. Scorpio loves all things having to do with digging into the depth of our unconscious self, discovering that which is hidden. Even more of an emphasis and support in doing deep healing work around old wounds, traumas / shadow work. And then we also have Sun squaring Saturn happening this week as well, which brings in experiences or feelings of delays and obstacles around whatever our goals are that we're efforting towards achieving or accomplishing in the structured material world of form, the manifested world. But that square also comes with innovative insights and awarenesses around how we can work around or navigate through what feels like those delays or obstacles. So to me, this square aspect that we have going on between the Sun and Saturn further emphasizes that this is not the week to launch into striving to manifest anything externally. The energy is like, take a break, take a breather, retreat, go within, go with the flow of the energy that's happening right now. Do some deep healing work. That way, as the energies are shifting, we're gonna feel aligned and ready to leap into vibrant, inspired action around the corner. So in the spirit of the energies that are happening this week, the tarot spread that I'm going to be looking at is in regard to how we can delve into some shadow work, how we can deepen our connection with ourselves. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so here we go. Today I am working with my Osho Zen Tarot. I'm going to mix these up real good. This is a deck that I like to use a lot when I'm specifically working with matters having to do with depth of spiritual awareness, matters of healing, and things like that. So just mixing them up real good. Setting the intention that all the messages that come through today are coming from only the highest sources of guidance and light possible. And that everything's clear and in alignment with our highest paths and purposes collectively. So the first card we're going to look at today is representing what shadow aspects are coming up within us to heal collectively. It's the friendliness card showing up reversed. So when this card shows up right side up, it's assigned to the number 2, which is about partnerships, pairs, support, structure, things like that. This is the energy of merging in oneness, which of course is what the age of Aquarius that we're shifting into now is all about. And so when I'm seeing the friendliness card showing up reversed in regard to what shadow aspects are coming up for us to heal collectively, to me, it feels like letting go of the idea of separateness, separation, letting go of things that feel like competitiveness, competition, and letting go, shedding, clearing, healing, integrating anything that prevents us from merging in oneness with our loved ones, our partners, anything that has hindered us from sharing deep connection and emotional intimacy. So maybe let that be something that you're considering with your own journey through healing this weekend, if you choose to take advantage of this healing energy that we've got coming in. So the next card I'm going to look at is how can we heal? How can we heal these wounds that are coming up that have led to separation, comparing, competitiveness? How can we heal the wounds? Ooh, getting out of the mind, right? Our mind is always working overtime to show us all the reasons why something can't happen or what could possibly go wrong. When we're making progress in our journey of spiritual awareness, we're more connected with our soul self and less identified with our ego mind. The ego mind feels and fears like it's dying. It's losing control. So here's my workaround on that. We're not trying to annihilate the ego. We're not trying to have disdain for the ego mind or the rational mind or the logical mind. We have it for a reason. There's a lot of goodness, obviously, that comes from using our mind to navigate through life. But when we're unconscious, we're not spiritually awake, we are in effect unconsciously being slaves to the whims of the ego mind, which is naturally programmed to respond, react in life from the point of survival instincts, which means that there's a lot of fear involved in that, a lot of uncertainty. So what we want to do instead is live from the heart, live from the soul, and work in unity with the mind. So we have that cohesion between spirit and mind, where we're giving the mind the job, the task to carry out the ideals, the intentions, the passions, the drive, the meaning and purpose of the soul. So the mind is working for the heart and soul rather than us being unconsciously enslaved to the unruly workings of the mind. So that's how we can heal. Next card we're going to look at, how can we cultivate deeper connections with ourselves while we are in this Scorpio season, which is all about depth of connection. It's what our soul is craving now. So how can we do that? Let's see what wants to come up. The Miser reversed. This is, I feel, is very connected to the friendliness reverse. So the way that we can cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves is by not unnecessarily being on guard with ourselves. So the Miser card, right side up, you can tell, like, okay, this is like a person who has some treasures and they're hoarding the treasures to themselves. They don't want to share. You can tell by looking at them, they're not happy at all. They're so enthralled with the idea of losing the treasure that they have that they've fallen into a misery and really, again, being enslaved to holding on to the treasure. So in the reverse direction around how can we cultivate deeper connections with ourselves, let go of self-containment. This is also connected with what I'm seeing about the shadow work, the healing. A lot of times what happens is when we have unhealed wounds, we want to avoid the pain and discomfort of that. So we shove it down, which is how it becomes a part of your shadow. And we end up cutting ourselves off from ourselves. So in the reverse position, I feel like this is also speaking to that. When we get stuck in patterns of feeling our own feelings because of not wanting to feel old hurts, we're also blocking ourselves from the gifts, the treasures, and the joys of our soul. So letting all of that go, surrendering once and for all, being willing to have a deep, soulful connection with yourself, come what may. Be willing to go through a little bit of emotional discomfort to get to the treasure underneath that. I'm telling you guys, this is the way to go. I just did a podcast interview with medium Carrie and her podcast Walking on Feathers last week. I'm going to put the link to that below in the comments so that you guys can listen to it, because the episode is us talking about her experience with being guided through a deep shamanic cord cutting and reconnection to self journey with me. So we discuss how I do it, what her experience was, and that will give you all a little bit of an idea of what's possible in the way of healing wounds and trauma through the types of shamanic modalities that I work with. Next card, we're going to look at what is the result of us doing the healing work and connecting with ourselves more deeply. What's the result of that? Conditioning reversed. So you can see the theme that's emerging through all of these cards today. It's sort of uncanny. The result is that we're letting ourselves out of our own self-made restrictions and prisons, and we can return to courage, empowerment, compassion, which is what lion represents. We can shift back into our leadership, no longer being blinded by letting our wounds and traumas be what leads the show in our life and what keeps us imprisoned in restriction. Then the last card we're going to look at, what is the overall message from Spirit today for this week? I want to just dig in here really good. Which one is it? Which one is it? Isolation. So when you look at the card, you know, there's a lot of ice and there's a human who's melting the ice with the warmth of their own tears. So the overall message from Spirit is we have to be willing to feel We have to be willing to feel in order to heal. We have to feel to heal. In doing that, we reintegrate with the fires of our soul. Our inner light, our inner warmth returns, and we once again can shift back into a life that is thriving with sensation, experience, which ultimately leads to empowered living. So again, we can see how all of these cards are really interweaving today, giving us strong messages around sort of learning how stuffing things down, isolating, separating ourselves, keeping ourselves imprisoned, being identified with our ego mind has really served just to keep us small and unconscious. Now is the time. Now meaning literally this week, this weekend, is a really empowering time to reclaim yourself as a soul, as a being of light who's here to thrive through life, to thrive through life's experiences, which means feeling them, fully immersing yourself in the feeling, sensual experience of life, not just analytically moving through, right? Work with it. Let me know how it goes. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Much love, blessings, namaste to all of you. Have a blessed weekend ahead. And stay tuned. There's more videos around the corner, and I will see you in the next one.